Hi, I'm Dr. Bizecki Robson, and I'm the Curator of Botany at the Manitoba Museum. In the TV show The Last of Us, humans are infected by a parasitic fungus that turns everybody into zombies. But is that just science fiction, or is there any truth to it at all? Well, a lot of the fungus that we encounter are similar to this puffball fungus, and they just break down dead plants and organic matter in the soil. And these puffball fungi are very common in pastures and in grassland areas. Other fungi are very common on trees, and they decompose the dead and decaying wood. Sometimes they can be partially parasitic, like this artist fungus, and these are both species that you might have seen. They're pretty common locally. But there are a number of parasitic fungi in Manitoba, and I have a couple of them in the collection that I wanted to show to you today. The first one is called black knot fungus, and you've probably seen it if you've ever gone walking in Birds Hill Park or Assiniboine Forest, or really any of the forests in Manitoba. It's very common on cherry trees, which includes chokecherry and pin cherry. You can also get it a lot on ornamental trees in the city, and this infection spreads very quickly when there's really humid summer conditions, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can kill the tree. So if you happen to have this fungus infesting a tree on your property, you're going to have to prune it to get rid of the black knot and prevent the infection from spreading. Fortunately, sometimes it can be fatal. So another kind of parasite that we have in Manitoba that's fairly common actually parasitizes other fungi, and the species that I'm referring to is called Hypomyces lacteiflorum. That's the fancy scientific name, but we like to call them lobster mushrooms. So the lobster mushroom is a fungus that infects a very common type of fungi called milkcap fungi, and this is what milkcap fungi normally look like after they're dried, of course. These are delicious milkcap mushrooms, and this particular parasite, the lobster mushroom parasite, often parasitizes milkcap mushrooms. And because the milkcap mushrooms are edible, the lobster mushrooms themselves are also edible. And if you look closely in the museum's Parklands gallery, at the Rye Farm diorama, you can actually see a little girl sitting with her grandmother, and she's got a handkerchief in front of her with a bunch of edible mushrooms that her and her grandmother collected. 2 of those mushrooms are lobster mushrooms. Now, there are unfortunately some parasitic fungi that do infect people. If you've ever got an athlete's foot or a ringworm infection, those are both fungi that parasitize people. And there's also a kind of fungal infection called blastomycosis, which people sometimes get if they inhale spores from fungi that grow in the Lake of the Woods area. But so far, none of the fungi turn us into zombies yet.